Hey guys, this is Jim, K and 4YCD, and you're watching FUP Labs Radio. Thanks for stopping by. I wanted to do a very quick follow-up on coax switches. I released a video the other day, and I had a few questions from different viewers about grounding the coax switch. So I wanted to kind of cover and show you what these switches did with relation to grounding the switches. The whole point of the video the other day was to show you the isolation, not grounding. And I could have covered it in the video. I just didn't think about it, honestly. So that video was about the isolation in dB between these two ports. So if I've got one radio here and one radio here, what kind of isolation am I seeing between these two ports if I have two radios hooked up, or two of anything? And the answer is these are both identical. They're both, 65 dB, minus 65 dB of isolation. So as far as isolation between the switch ports, they're absolutely identical. $39 switch, and this was $129. Of course, it's 2-port and 4-port. I think the 2-port model of this is about $84. And there's nothing wrong with either one of these switches. These are great. The Alpha Delta has a couple extra little features that this Daiwa doesn't have, but that's not what I'm here for. So what I wanted to do was, I've got my meter here and we're on continuity, and I just wanted to show you what the grounds do when you're switching. Now, it should go without saying that if you're using these to switch a radio, you should not be transmitting while you're switching, okay? I have literally used this with two radios. I've had a FT991 and a 7300, both hooked up to this at the same time, both on, and swapping back and forth. I had one radio was on one antenna, or I had one antenna and two radios. So I was switching which radio I was using, and I wasn't turning off the radios or anything else. So there's plenty of isolation. It is not a problem isolation-wise. But like I said, we had some questions about grounding, so I want to cover that real quick. On the Daiwa switch, which is the one I have used, if we test on the shields, they're all grounded together. They're also grounded, and you'll notice on this guy, that's the ground tab. That's what you'd fasten to your shack ground. If I touch that, same thing, okay? So these shields would get tied to ground. The switch is over on this port. So right now, the only two center pins that are connected are those two, and these two aren't connected to anything. If I swap the port over, then obviously those two center pins are connected and those two shields are connected. Since the shield side of all the ports is fastened to the case, the shields are always grounded. Always. There should be no condition in this switch where this is not grounded. The shields are always tied to the ground. This switch does not have a legal center detente position like the Alpha Delta does. We'll get to that in a minute. It's kind of got a little bit of a feel of a half stop in the middle. Officially, when it's there, it's not on anything, but as you can see, the shields are still grounded. That's grounded, and that one's not. And I think that's a matter of, yeah, there you go. So now it's also tying the center pins all together. So everything is tied to ground. That is one major difference between the Daiwa and something like that Alpha Delta, which we're going to look at it in a second. This does not have a hard detent, however the heck you say that word. Drives me crazy. This does not have a hard detent for the center position. But if you friggle it, jiggle it, it'll get there and it'll tie all the pins to ground. Okay. It's not doing much of a switch at that point. And if that's what you want to do, rock on. If that's something that's important to you, tying all your connections to ground at the same time, you can't use your radio. I guess you do that in a thunderstorm. I don't do it. Then you don't want that switch. It does do it. It absolutely does do it. I just showed you it did it. The difference is on the Alpha Delta, there's a detente position. Can't see that on the camera. Hello, camera, focus. So this COM is common, this is earthed. So on that position, obviously our shields are all tied. And on the common, well, that's the common port. All the centers are also tied to the shields at the same time. So they both do the exact same functions. What this has that the Daiwa doesn't have, this has a special clicky locked detente position for that, and it has the arc plug for lightning arrest, the replaceable arc plug for lightning arresting. Okay, that's the difference between the two. I wanted to clarify that. There was, like I said, a couple questions about it. That's all I've got for you on this one, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one. 73.